if you're experiencing eczema of any kind, right, then the bad bugs are winning, essentially. They're winning the war.
Yeah.
And so we need to give the beneficial microbes like a fighting chance. So that starts with prebiotics. And the best way to do that is to eat a varied, seasonal, digestible diet. And so that's real whole foods that are seasonal, like pretty much all meats, all, fruits and vegetables and gluten-free cakes. And that means preparing all of that properly and combining them all properly. And then just omitting just a few eczema specific things that doesn't go well for people with this specific condition, like vinegar, because it's a yeast product. And so, it's made from yeast. So things like that, you just keep in mind. Really high histamine foods, like fermented foods, unfortunately, the things that are counterintuitive, that they're acclaimed to be the almighty and gut healing, right? But for this specific place, like fermented foods are just too high in histamine. And the same goes for bone broth as well.
Welcome to The Functional Edge. I'm Dr. Julia Ward, and this is where science meets real-world strategies for living healthier, sharper, and stronger. From uncovering hidden environmental toxins to unlocking peak performance and mental clarity, we cover it all. Ready to take control of your health and thrive? Let's dive in. Okay, hello and welcome to the Functional Edge podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Julia Ward, medical director and founder of Balanced Body Functional Medicine. Today, we're honored to welcome Andra McHugh, founder of Eczema Kids and a dedicated advocate for helping families reverse childhood eczema through natural root cause solutions. In this episode, Andra will be sharing powerful insights on identifying hidden triggers, restoring the gut-skin connection, and creating an environment where sensitive, inflamed skin can truly heal. Stay tuned for an engaging conversation that promises to empower and inspire your path to wellness, especially if you're caring for a child with eczema and searching for real, sustainable answers. So welcome.
Thank you, Dr. Ward. I'm excited to be here.
Awesome. So when a parent is staring down relentless eczema, sleepless nights, nonstop itching, foods failing left and right, where do you tell them to start? And why isn't there more dermatologists that have this advice?
And just as well as me, but right, we're not looking at a skin issue when we're looking at eczema. Like we're looking at a gut imbalance. We're looking at a dysbiosis, and it's manifesting on the outside, and it's mirroring what's happening on the inside. And their poor little gut linings, are just as broken up and pieced away, just as their external skin is. And so, dermatologists, right? They address the skin. They say, here's some steroids. Bleach baths will help. Let's kill and suppress this thing, and just, a hope and a prayer and cross your fingers, and you'll manage your way out of this, or, just manage it for the rest of your life. And, that was the advice I was given when I brought my kids in. I had 2 kids suffering from severe eczema 6 years ago. And that was the advice that I received. And I left that appointment just knowing this isn't it for my kids. And then we figured it out, and by addressing like the gut and restoring their microbiome. And like now I help other people do the same, just mere mortal parents without without pharmaceuticals.
And just to put things in context, you have 4 kids, is that right?
I have 4 kids. They're 8, 10, 6, and 3 now.
Okay. And so maybe you can tell us a little bit more about like what your experience was like when you first got hit with that.
My 3rd daughter was just born with eczema. And then simultaneously, it was just the craziest thing. My 2-year-old at the time just came down with eczema like you would a cold. It just came, it's just so quickly. It just started out like a little rash on the inside of her thigh, and it just got bigger and bigger and bigger, and just started overtaking her whole body. And at the time, I was working in the dental world, and I was, throughout my pregnancy, especially with my 3rd child, I was exposed to a lot of radiation and a lot of chemicals. And it's a really, unfortunately, deleterious field, dentistry of any kind. And so I had that, and then all 3 of my kids had been born via cesarean, unfortunately. And so I had that going for us as well, as far as the autoimmunity scale. And so that's where we were. And I just suddenly had 2 kids with debilitating, like life altering eczema. Like nobody was sleeping. It was a horrible, horrible time. They were just both so miserable in the skin that they were in, and scratching and awake all night. And, it hadn't been a part of my history or my husband's history or our family history. And it came on so suddenly. I was taken aback. I just didn't know what to do. And as I started just uncovering it more and more, like once I realized, like, okay, allopathic medicine isn't the way, like this isn't
Yeah.
work out. I didn't even go to the dermatologist or the allergist, after I had that initial pediatric appointment for this. And
Yeah.
as I was just reading and uncovering more and more and more, it's like, okay, this is the direction that we need to go. And it just became more and more apparent, like no matter what, that I was going to be the person that had to implement these changes, right, to ultimately bring about the change that I wanted to see in my children's health.
Yeah.
And so, I just went on this mission to do
That's
that.
awesome. Yeah. How long did it take you to kind of figure out what to do for them?
6 months. 6 months,
Okay.
we went from that,
Yeah.
like, 0 sleep, bleeding head to toe skin to
Wow.
clear for both of them, and it would have been shorter, had I known,
Of
what
course.
I knew
Yeah,
at that
hindsight.
time.
But
Yeah.
now you can share this wealth of knowledge with other people, which is the
But
beautiful thing.
yeah,
So tell us, what are some of the misconceptions about eczema?
I mean, what we just talked about, like, that
Yeah.
this skin issue, obviously, it is not. We certainly need to do some things to address the skin because we're in the here and now, and there's some very unpleasant, symptoms that they're dealing with, so there's a lot you can do there. But I think also that it's food triggered. It's not
Okay.
food trigger. Eczema doesn't exist because gluten or because, dairy. It's because of the imbalance. And I also just know that so many people get that advice that we spoke to earlier as well. It's just like there's nothing you can really do to change this. And it's like there absolutely is. I just know without a shadow of a doubt, like nobody has to live with this. Nobody was sent here to live with this. Like we were made for so much more and nobody should feel uncomfortable in their skin, especially our kiddos. And you
Yeah.
can absolutely not just manage it. You can reverse this
Yeah.
condition.
Oh, that's great. Well, what is the best thing to put on the skin when it's flaring?
Our number one rule here is that everything that you put on the skin has to be edible. Not in that it would taste good, but that you could eat it because you're
Okay.
consuming it and it's circulating throughout your body and your liver is digesting it just the same as anything that you eat. So that's the number one. And we start with an herbal oil. I started making herbal oils. It's a process called Aviyanga. It's been a part of the Ayurvedic practice for thousands and thousands of years, and people use it, as a preventative practice. But when you infuse herbs, like skin nourishing herbs like neem and amalaki, things like that, into a nutrient dense oil like jojoba oil, those properties, the anti-inflammatory and the moisturizing properties and the nutritive properties of those herbs get infused into the skin, like the lipophilic properties. Fat likes fat, and so it brings those properties into the tissues and addresses the skin and creates a barrier for even the water, because right when you're dealing with eczema,
Yeah.
unfortunately, their skin barrier isn't doing its job, right? It's too thin. And so the
Yeah.
things that are outside are coming in, and it's
Mhm.
not what's supposed to happen for the most part. So it's just even helping them with a barrier for the water. Epsom salt baths, we highly, highly recommend. It's like a sincere therapy. It helps detoxify these kids or adults, anybody. Kids are
Mhm.
people, but this is anybody
Yeah.
dealing with a skin issue. And then, it also just helps with your nervous system, all the things to help you just calm down. And then we follow that up with some Chinese herbs that are targeted for staph and
Mhm.
for itch, because if you are experiencing eczema, undoubtedly you have a higher count of staph on the skin. So we need to address that, but without suppressing it and killing off your whole skin microbiome. The
Yeah.
same if you wouldn't want to take antibiotics for your gut microbiome, right? The same sort of thing. Like it affects it the same way. So we want to keep that balance, but still address the itch. And then we just follow that up with the most nutritive, bioavailable moisturizing cream that you possibly can. We do a tallow castor oil based cream, and it just really helps seal everything in
Mhm.
and starts to rebuild that skin barrier. But we call that the skin comfort trio, and it just those 3 steps, and it's really 4 with the bath. It just really sets you up for rebuilding the skin barrier, the outside in, while you're working on the inside out to see more
Right.
positive effects.
Sounds great. So you teach parents how to rebuild their child's gut lining and detox pathways. And what does that actually look like day to day in a real family with limited time and a lot of overwhelm?
Yeah. Well, like, and I know your listeners know, you need prebiotics, right? You need
Yeah.
to beat the beneficial bacteria. And we're addressing a dysbiosis. Like if you're experiencing eczema of any kind, right, then the bad bugs are winning essentially. They're winning the war. And
Yeah.
so we need to give the beneficial microbes like a fighting chance. So that starts with prebiotics. And that the best way to do that is to eat a varied seasonal digestible diet. And so that's real whole foods that are seasonal, like pretty much all meats, all, fruits and vegetables and gluten-free cakes. And that means preparing all of that properly and combining them all properly. And then just omitting just a few eczema specific things that doesn't go well for people with this specific condition, like vinegar, because it's a yeast product. And
Hmm.
so, it's made from yeast. So things like that, you just keep in mind really high histamine foods, like fermented foods, unfortunately, the things that are counterintuitive that they're acclaimed to be like the almighty and gut healing, right? But for this specific place, like fermented foods are just too high in histamine. And the same goes
Yeah.
for bone broth as well. So yeah, it's keeping out what needs to be out for this healing period. And that's certainly, the standard things like the gluten and the commercial dairy and the processed sugar and certainly any dyes or
Yeah.
preservative and things like that. But, especially in kids' diets, like these things are ubiquitous, right?
Yeah.
And so, like, even things like preservatives like citric acid, a lot of people don't know it's made from mold. It's like a byproduct of mold being on sugar. There's just so much that you can do there's like a handful of things that you could take out on top of the, the standard, allergenic foods, and then just focus on a varied seasonal whole foods diet, and that will do a lot in rebuilding
Yeah.
the gut. Yeah, and help your body create, the short chain fatty acids that are required for a healthy microbiome, like all those things. Like, right, it starts with the fiber and the prebiotics and all those things that are going into the diet.
Yeah. That's great. So many families come to you after trying steroids, elimination diets, probiotics, even biologics with no long term success. Why do those approaches fall short? And what do you think is missing from the conventional model?
Yeah, unfortunately, all those things are just dealing with the symptoms and not with the root cause. And they're prescribing really serious drugs for kids younger and younger and younger. I had a
Mhm.
2-year my program that was on biologics that was on to, you know, and they're serious drugs, and it's put them on these medicines, corticosteroids and biologics without even any plan to eventually wean them off. And that's what's like most shocking to me. But because some people have to use steroids, and that's fine to just get over what is going on here, or to
Yeah.
address an infection, or something that's like really serious, and that's fine. But then anytime that you're employing these tools, it should always be paired with a plan to get off of them, because ultimately
Hmm.
our goal is just clear skin, pharmaceutical free, food free kids. So
Yeah.
yeah, they're just not addressing like the dysbiosis and
Yeah.
everything that's happening on the inside. They're
Yeah.
treating the bacteria on the outside, and then they're suppressing the immune system. And so that's what I find sadder is, like, right, with these kids, the parents are told this is the only way, you have to move forward with this, and they trust what's being told to them by a medical
Yeah.
professional, of course. And then
Yeah. Yeah.
things do get better for a period of time, but then they might get worse, or they just stop working and they need stronger
Yeah.
and stronger stuff, or they just never worked at all. And then
Right.
still the body just creates these dependencies so quickly to corticosteroids in particular. And man, once you try to wean off, the flare comes back even further, right? Because it's been suppressed for however long that you've been using these drugs. And the immune system is taking a toll. And so it's such a hard cycle to work yourself out of. You absolutely can, but ideally you don't get started there in the first place, because then
Yeah.
it is an extra hurdle that you're going to have to jump later, because it's just not
Absolutely.
addressing what it actually is
Right.
called.
Yeah. Absolutely. So, in your program, you emphasize healing the environment, both internal and external. What are some of the most overlooked environmental triggers parents should know about?
EMF is certainly one, like
Mm,
that's ubiquitous. Like there's nothing that you can do to get away from it, but there's certain things that you can
yeah.
do certainly in your home to just lessen or trying to just decrease the amount of inflammatory assaults that are like happening on our kids all day, every day. So if you
Yeah.
could do like a simple thing like unplug your router at night, right? Like a router's job is just to
Yeah.
send that signal.
And just to back up a little bit, EMFs, for people who don't understand that, that's electronic magnetic frequencies. So
Yes.
sort of like the vibrational output of screens and electronic devices and wireless internet.
Yes. Yes. Thank you. But so
Yeah.
that's one. It's just like, okay, stuff like that. That'd be one that probably most people don't think of. Like most
Yeah.
people by the time to come, they by the time they come to me, like they're filtering their water. Like these are healthy people. Like they're
Yeah.
they're doing their best. They're not using Windex, but if you are, like that's certainly an easy thing to swap
Yeah.
out. Like it's just like my cleaning products are vinegar, baking soda, and tea tree oil. Like
Okay.
that's
Yeah. Yeah.
we use. Like it's so easy. So that's a big thing. Just the air mold test, just like the at home mold test is like a really good place to start if that's at all a worry in the back of your mind. Like maybe there's some sort of mold thing. You can just get like agar plates relatively inexpensively and send it to their lab and then they'll let you know if there's something that you
Yeah.
need to address there. But
Yeah.
yeah, those are some things that you could start with, given that you've already done, the laundry and you've, you know,
Right.
using chemicals all over the house and around the house.
Yes. And just for our listeners, I just want to remind you that I do have a 5-part series on how to lower your everyday toxic burden. And there's a whole episode on cleaning products and, things like getting the harsh chemicals out of that. All right. Well, you've helped hundreds of families achieve full reversal of eczema. Congratulations. And what patterns do you see in the kids who heal the fastest?
Consistency, right? Because
Uh-huh.
you can do anything for a day. It's the exact same as going to the gym, right? One day, not going to cut it, right? And
Yeah.
it doesn't need to be perfection. And
Hmm.
there's days you're tired and you don't do the whole thing. But
Yeah.
if you keep going, like if you're doing it for the most
Yeah.
part every day, there can't be, you know. And I know your audience knows this, but like the IgG half life, like if you're sensitive to a food, right, that and you have an IgG sensitivity, right, versus an
Yeah.
IgE allergy, the half life of that is like 21 days. Right. So even when you have a cheat cupcake, because everyone's having
Yeah.
that, or, the adult, like a croissant with your friend, when you're drinking your latte, like it matters, unfortunately,
Yeah.
just for this like intensive, like if you just consider it an intensive, for your gut, for
Yeah.
gut,
Yeah.
and really like mind these like major rules, like the no gluten, conventional dairy, and the pretty easy things to mitigate these days. Those families achieve success the
Yeah.
quickest. Absolutely.
That makes the most sense. Yeah, if
Yeah.
you're consistent with what you're doing.
Yeah.
Parents dealing with chronic eczema often feel like they're failing. How do you help them shift their mindset so that they can finally move from panic and guilt into clarity and action?
It's like, here's what you can do, right? In the kitchen, here's what you can do in your house. Here's what you can put on their skin, exactly what to give them and how to give it to, right? Like I remember, you read all these things, everyone that comes to me, they're so well researched, they've tried so many things and they're worried about so many things. And I was in the exact same boat. Like I remember, diaper changes for my baby would take 20 minutes because I had to remoisturize her completely. And, like just the skin was literally like falling off of her body. And then I was like, oh no, she's stressed. Like my baby's stressed because I'm such a horrible parent and I can't get this under control. And, all these things. And of course I'm stressed. And it's like, but I'm doing my best because,
Yeah.
of course you want to heal this and it is stressful. But, knowing like the stress is the dysbiosis that we spoke to. Like that is real, bodily stress. And
Yeah.
they're not like mental, that's what's determining their behavior and their skin and all the things that unfortunate about this condition. And so if you can really just look at it as we are going on a gut healing journey and let go of the why, right? I had cesareans. I worked in the dental industry. Like I did a lot wrong. I took birth control in my 20s, Yeah, okay, can't
Yeah.
change it. And do what you can. Do what you
Yeah.
can control. Look into mold, filter your water, eat vegetables, cook healthy food. There's so much in your control, but that stuff that's outside that already happened, can't change it. It's okay. You're doing the best by your kid. And it's that. I think what gives you the most peace as a parent, as a caretaker, is when your head hits the pillow and you've done everything you possibly can, that gives your soul a lot of peace. And
Yeah.
really just look at it as like, this is a medical issue, but it's
Mhm.
reversible, and
Mhm.
just go and write it out until you get there.
Yeah. Yeah. That's great. So for parents listening who are in a severe flare right now, what is the one thing they can do today that will start calming the skin while they work on the deeper root cause issues?
Well, I think the two of the strongest tools are herbal oils and Epsom salt baths as far as
Yeah.
topicals go. Like that matters. It matters so much. And we talked about the benefits. It's just like getting those things. It's like taking supplements through the skin in both
Yeah.
cases. And that works wonders. I just, with kids, it's hard to get that many supplements in. Everything needs to be basically
Yeah.
like food based. And, if you could
And
just absorb the supplements,
yeah,
be
the
and it's
topical is wonderful for
a
kids.
win-win. Yeah.
You don't have to get them to swallow anything, and I know that can
Right.
be
You're
such
just
an
like
ordeal.
standing over the applesauce, like, eat it, because it's
Yeah,
like eating
yeah.
all the
Which
applesauce at this point.
yeah, do you have any advice for parents who are trying to get their kids to eat a more varied diet, like maybe vegetables or something that they're just not the kids aren't really thrilled about eating? Like, how do you broaden their palate, so to speak?
Well, I would say kids 2 and under, they will, I mean, even if you haven't been doing it this way, they might pitch a fit for a day or 2 if you change things up on them and you're like, you used to
Yeah.
feed Eggos and now it's not that, it's quinoa flakes. Like, they will get over it, like, very, very quickly. And,
Okay.
like, even if they're 2, they're old enough to acknowledge, like, my 2-year-old, I was like, well, now we're eating carob chips,
Yeah.
instead of chocolate, right?
Yeah.
To help with your spots. And
Uh-huh.
she could understand that. And she was motivated to change because she was miserable, right?
Yeah.
Like, she was feeling awful. And
Yeah.
anyone over to, the same thing. Like, you have to get their buy-in. It's like, you don't want to feel this way. You don't want to look
Right.
this way. This is a bummer. These
Yeah.
are the changes that we have to make to
Yeah.
start to eradicate this. And, like, the suffering is so real that they
Yeah.
should be on board. Like, there doesn't have to be that much. And, we just talk about, like, eczema hasn't been a thing for our family for a really long time, but we just talk about grow foods and we talk about, the benefits in language that, like, whatever motivates them.
Yeah.
And, like, my 10-year-old specifically is very motivated to grow. So she's like, okay, all right, give me the spirulina smoothie, So so it just really talked to them about why
Yeah.
they're on board.
That's
And if they're
awesome.
too young to understand, then they're on board because
Yeah.
they'll just eat it.
And so where can people find information about your products and your methods?
I host the Eczema Kids podcast. You have been a guest there, and that's going to air soon. So I'm really excited about that. And so I've been doing this for almost 4 years. So that's just a really great free resource about every single thing is related to this issue. And my website is eczemakids.com, and I have a whole eczema shop with the method. So we just take you through, like, one-on-one, like, how this is how you do it. We come up with a plan just based for your situation, your child, or you. I have a lot of adult clients as well because
Yeah.
it's real. And then skincare as well. We have the Skin Cover Trio and eczema safe sunscreen and all the things, prebiotic tea. It's super fun. So eczemakids.com.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining me on The Functional Edge. And I hope today's episode gave you fresh insights and practical tools to level up your life. So if you found value in what you heard, don't forget to hit the subscribe and share button, especially with someone who needs it, and leave a review. It's the best way to support our mission of bringing powerful health solutions to more people. So for more resources, updates, and behind-the-scenes content, visit drjuliaward.com. And until next time, stay strong, stay healthy, and keep living on the functional edge. Thank you for joining me on The Functional Edge. I hope today's episode gave you fresh insights and practical tools to level up your life. If you found value in what you heard, don't forget to hit subscribe, share the podcast with someone who needs it, and leave a review. It's the best way to support our mission of bringing powerful health solutions to more people. For more resources, updates, and behind-the-scenes content, visit drjuliaward.com. Until next time, stay strong, stay healthy, and keep living on the functional edge.